Hey guys, Philip here, and welcome to the final episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or I should say, welcome to the final episode podcast of Falcon and the Winter Soldier for Phasing Forward. And like most of this series, by which I mean most of the Falcon Phasing Forward series, I am joined once again by Michelle. How are you doing, Michelle?
Hello, I'm fine. I have a small headache that is going away, and my throat has decided to go, no, what? I'm going to be scratchy now. So that'll be fun. Excuse me. But otherwise fine, thank you.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get through this just fine. But it is the final episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which means after this we're going to have to say goodbye to this dynamic. No, Michelle. Well, actually, we do have we do have plans for other stuff, but I'm not going to divulge those till a further point. That's something I've learned to do because back in like my mid-teens, like when I was still like early on in on YouTube, I had a really bad habit of like saying I'm gonna do this and then fucking never ever getting around to it, or doing like one video in a series and then never fucking continuing it. Because I remember doing like a wanting to do a Kingdom Hearts retrospective, and I did like a video on the first game and then just never made another video. I don't know if that's because I just lost interest, which I don't think is the case because I love Kingdom Hearts, or if just making a video on Chain of Memories is that hard because Chain of Memories fucking sucks. But regardless, it's been a fun time having you on board for this series, Michelle. Not time for goodbyes yet because, well, first of all, we still have the series review, and second of all, you're not going anywhere. You're now a part of the Phasing Forward crew. You're here for life, just like how when you're a part of the Bun Squad, you're here for life.
Yay! Job security.
But with that being said, let's jump into what we thought of the episode overall. Michelle, what did you think of the episode overall? I repeated myself there. What the fuck?
I thought it was really. I think it was really good. I think it stuck the landing. There was a lot going on, and it wrapped up the things that you thought it would wrap up and should have wrapped up, and it set up the things that needed setting up.
Mm-hmm.
It's IR fan.
Yeah, it's I honestly I'm conflicted on whether or not I think this episode or the previous episode is my favorite, because I'm gonna say maybe as the overall like better episode, I'd say maybe episode 5 is, but like the moments in this episode are not just some of the best moments in this series, but like one moment in particular, two moments in particular are some of my favorite MCU moments of all time now. Yeah. This was such an amazing finale. I've heard some criticisms, just like with the WandaVision finale, not as much as the WandaVision finale, and these ones I think are a little more like, I can understand a little more where they're coming from this time around. But yeah, I just God, I fucking love this episode. I fucking love this series, man. Like it's 2 for 2 on like just amazing Disney Plus series. Like they went out swinging for the Disney Plus shows, like right off the bat. Like already, like, just with WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we have two of the best MCU things in general. And I know some people don't agree with that, but this is my show, goddammit, so I'm gonna just say it.
Yeah. No, honestly, because I saw the trailers for WandaVision and I was like, oh, that looks interesting and intriguing. And I saw the trailers for this, and I thought, oh, that's kind of thing. And I think we touched on it before, that the wonderful thing about this, because I didn't watch all the Netflix shows, but just the Marvel in general.
Neither did I.
Like, looking at the comics, that you can do any genre, even within the same universe. Because we did discuss it, because that's life. Life isn't always all one genre, and the fact that you can have this. So I'm going to sidestep a little bit. Well, same point, but there's this fan fiction series that I adore. I think the authors wrapped it up now. They've brought it to a nice conclusion. But it is a crossover between Iron Man primarily and other MCU, but also a little bit of other Marvel because at certain points they bring in the Fantastic Four. And it's a crossover with a, not obscure, but a little British radio comedy, which is about a private air dot. Because they have one plane, two pilots, the owner, and the owner's son. And it's a four-hander. They've got other guest actors. But it's a four-hander sitcom that has 27 episodes. And that's it. It's a really adorable thing. I'll give you a link to it. It's called Cabin Pressure. It's amazing. But I was like, originally, like, that's a really weird concept. Like, there's a weird little British comedy and the MCU. But then I thought about it. Why not? Why can't this little show exist in the same universe? Especially since on careful re-listening of the series, the Marvel Universe characters, comics, cartoons, any of it never is mentioned as a fiction in that universe. So yeah, they could exist in the same universe.
One thing I love about the Marvel comics in general is like the one little point I love is that the actual Marvel comics themselves are like established as comic books that exist within the stories themselves. Like at least they used to do this a lot. Like I don't know how much they do this nowadays, but like they used to do that a lot. And it's something that like Logan did, and I thought it was like great when they did it with Logan. So like I honestly think
I haven't seen Logan yet. You need to watch Logan.
Yeah, they basically have like some of the original like X-Men comics laying around in Logan, and how and basically like Logan himself just says, oh yeah, you know, maybe like a third quarter of it happened, and like none of the ways that it's showing, and it's, you know, it's funny. But no, I do agree that you know, comic book movies can be like, you know, anything you want them to be, because fucking, and this is a bandwagon I think DC got the jump start. Like, you know, it's weird because for most things Marvel got the jump start before, you know, as opposed to the DC, but with DC, I feel like this is one of those cases where they realized, granted, the way in which they realized it was trying to catch up to Marvel, then realizing, oh shit, we're creating bad movies. So like, you know, they course corrected, and now they're doing like singular, you know, really good individual movies, all of which, like, you know, have different tones and styles to each other. You know, Zack Snyder's Justice League is, you know, wildly different in tone to the Suicide Squad, which is wildly different in tone to Shazam, which is wildly different in tone to Joker, you know, which is wildly different in tone to Wonder Woman 1984. It's like they're creating films of different tones and different genres, and that's okay, because comic books do this all the goddamn time, and I'm glad that the MCU is finally starting to do this. And it's with the medium of you know, television, with the Disney Plus series, that they're really starting to get into like some really good shit. And it was such a good decision, because you know, and there's so many ways that they could have handled it poorly. Because they could have made it like, you know, the Netflix series, which, you know, and the Netflix series, you know, from what I've seen are great, and from, you know, some of the other things I've heard, I just, you know, they seem like really, really good. But like, you know, the thing is, if you want to make like series like the Netflix shows, and then make them like integral to the phases, I don't think it really would have worked as well, because those are like multi-season, you know, 13 episode per season series. Whereas these ones are like, you know, 6 episodes per, like it'll take you like only around like 4 to 5 hours to finish watching, you know, one of the Disney Plus shows, as opposed to like the 10 to 12 hours it'll take you to finish watching one of the Netflix series. Plus on top of that, like, you know, the Disney Plus series actually focus on characters who we know, and even when it's going to tackle characters who we don't know, there's the promise of, you know, they're still going to go somewhere in the overall universe. So it's, you know, great idea, and it's led to just, you know, already 2 very fucking good shows. So yeah, it's really, really good.
Well, the last point I was going to make about Cabin Pressure is one of the main actors in it is Benedict Cumberbatch, and
nice.
the fan fiction wraps up before Doctor Strange is a character. But like I said, it does include the Fantastic Four. And there's never actually a nod that Captain as far as I remember, they don't actually talk about whether or not Captain America and Johnny Storm look like each other, but the implications sort of left hovering.
That's fun.
So yeah, that's kind of fun. But yeah, that I adore that series, and I'll provide a link because I don't know, you might enjoy it, you might not. It's kind of
I'll have to remember I'll have to remember in post to fucking put that in the description. If I don't, then someone slap me. But you know, but moving on.
I can't remember which server it's on. If it's on AO3 or FFnet, so I'll have to look it up anyway.
Yeah. With that being said, moving into the actual episode itself, we once again begin with a bang, and you know, and I like how they waste no time in showing us, you know, Sam as Captain America. With that being said, what did you just surface level shit, because, you know, we like to talk about, you know, the in-depth stuff, you know, the characters and the themes, but, you know, we also have, you know, just that little bone in our body that's just like, yeah, let's focus on the minuscule details, just because, you know, just because it's fun. What did you think of the suit? What do you think of Sam's Captain America suit?
I haven't actually read any of well, actually most of the comics, but even I was like, that's book accurate. That's the book. I was like, it looks so cool.
No, I'm sorry. There's not a white circle around the star, so 0 out of 10. No, I'm kidding. But it's really fucking good. It's otherwise like really fucking book, you know, comic book accurate, and yeah, and it doesn't even need to be comic book accurate, but the fact that it is and it looks so damn good is just fucking awesome. And I haven't read much of the Sam Wilson Captain America run. I unfortunately, because I made a comment a while back, like this was years ago, how Nick Spencer isn't very good at writing Captain America, and yet all of like the entire driving force, I like the entire reason why I said that was because of the Steve Rogers Captain America run at the time, whereas I wasn't reading much of the Sam Wilson Captain America run. So yeah, all that comment basically goes towards, you know, you know, the Marvel comic readers, you know, watching this right now probably already know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fucking Nazi Cap thing. But, you know, in terms of Sam Wilson's run, I haven't read enough of it to really say how good of a job he did on that. I've heard pretty good things, but, you know, I need to actually read it myself. But in terms of, you know, just the suit itself, freaking lovely, 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 lovely. I love the white. I legitimately love how it's, you know, how they add that touch of white in there, like on the top half. I love how I love how it's like it's a mixture of Falcon suit and a Captain America suit, and I love this one little detail that I found out on Twitter. Now, who knows? Maybe this is just a coincidence, but if it's not, then this is a really good detail. So the kind of star design on in the middle is kind of a little bit of a callback to the outfit that Steve wore in, or the Captain America suit that Steve wore in The Winter Soldier, where it had like the 3 lines next to the star. Whereas Sam's outfit right here has 2 lines. And I saw this video online. I forget the exact, exactly what the name for it was, but there's a thing, I think in the military, where it's when when someone in the Air Force has fallen or has died, then you know, then they will essentially fly with, you know, like they'll essentially fly with, like, you know, one of the planes missing to honor, you know, their fallen comrades. So them doing it like that could represent how, you know, well, there was 3 lines, but now there's 2. It could represent how, you know, Sam is honoring, you know, Steve's potential death. We don't really know if he's died or not, but, you know, it's the fact that Steve, you know, is no longer in the you know, in the world. So yeah, and that's freaking, if it, you know, again, could be a coincidence, but if it's not, then that's just totally freaking, you know, heart-wrenching.
Yeah. Nah, Steve's on the moon. He's fine. I love we got a call back to that as well.
Yeah, I love how that was that line there. But yeah, suit looks really, really good. I'm a fan of it. I heard someone say, like, you know, oh, it could be better, and I'm like, Yeah, well, you know, who knows? They could come out with a better a better version of his suit. You know, I thought that his Winter Soldier suit was probably going to remain my favorite, and then some of his other ones from the other movies. You know, just I think his Endgame one in particular I really like.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so who knows? Like, yeah, I'm not throwing out. Like, I'm not gonna throw out the possibility that one of his other suits could be more to my liking in the future, because that absolutely could be the case. But just as a first Captain America suit, it looks very, very good.
It is, because the thing is with comic books, like you in the books, in the picture stories, you want bright, colourful. You want to grab people's attention, and I actually like the line from the first X-Men movie where Wolverine's complaining about the costume, and like Scott's like, "What you throwing yellow spandex?" Because I still think that was a funny line. And for those movies, I don't mind the fact they decided to put them in uniforms, but I like the fact that now, all the movies are saying, yeah, you can be silly, you can be colourful. And I can't wait for them
to actually give us the yellow spandex whenever they introduce Wolverine.
That would be amazing.
We were close with the Wolverine, because I think there was like a post-credit scene, or like at the end of the movie, Logan has the yellow spandex suit, but he never put it on, so fuck.
Yes, yeah. I just realised since I watched the Wolverine. I think the only one I haven't seen now is Logan, because
I skipped out on New Mutants. I just didn't want to watch that movie.
No, I mean just in the actual X-Men verse. Logan's the only one I haven't seen yet, because I knew Dark Phoenix had a bad reputation. I thought, at least I've got one good one left to watch. Yeah.
I mean, well, New Mutants is also in the X-Men verse, but it's
okay.
By the time New Mutants came out, it was like no one cared anymore. So, yeah, and it set up things that were never gonna fucking happen, because everyone by that point knew, like, okay, they're gonna do X-Men stuff in the MCU, so all this stuff is meaningless at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's fair, but yeah, the costume, love it. The appearance, love it. The one question I did pose on the server that nobody sort of come back to me is like, and maybe it's just me, but did they change his wing design? Is it actually now eagle wings rather than falcon wings?
I don't think they changed his wing designs. I think they're like the same or like similar. It's just I just kind of like the idea of them changing it to eagles, just because Captain America eagles. Yeah, because
but if they didn't, then yeah, fair enough. It's just more of a that would be kind of neat feature if they had. But
yeah, I hear you. But yeah, so I do like the action in this series, because I just love how as the first time we're seeing Sam as Captain America, and the vast majority of it is just focused on him saving people, and and I just show me a superhero saving people, like just scenes of a superhero saving people, and you're already gonna win me over. Like one of my favorite MCU scenes is from Iron Man 3 when the plane crash and all the plane attack, and all the people flying out of the plane, and just that scene's so fucking good. All the action in Iron Man 3 is good, but that one in particular is just fucking terrific. Iron Man 3 is such an underrated movie. I gotta make a video on it. Oh yeah, they actually filmed it like with people jumping out of a plane.
Yeah, they're a professional skydiving team that they hired. It's so freaking cool.
Yeah, that's so fucking cool. And people say the MCU doesn't do anything practical. Fuck off. It's so cool, man. It's so fucking cool. Iron Man 3 is such a good movie. Fuck anyone who says like, it doesn't really connect to the overall MCU, and it's like it's kind of mediocre. No, man, Iron Man 3 fucking rocks. Okay, Iron Man 3 is such a good movie. I'll defend that movie to the fucking ends of the earth.
Yep.
Oh, I love that movie so much.
I love it. It is fun. It is a lot of fun.
It is such
also,
a
it passes Bechdel as well, because you do have two female characters having a conversation that isn't just about a guy. Or at least if it's because they're technically talking about Killian and Tony, but it's still plot related.
Yeah.
So But also the helicopter sequence where Sam saves the police guys that's very evocative of Iron Man 1, where Tony makes sure the chute deploys.
Yeah, I love how he sees he checks to see if someone in there is like he's being tactical about the whole thing. He's checking to see if anyone is in there as a pilot. I saw someone say like, "Oh, how coincidental that someone in there would be a pilot. Like what are the chances?" And I'm like, "Hey, you want to know what would have happened if no one in there was a pilot? Move on to another fucking plan. I'm pretty sure that probably wasn't going to be Sam's only plan. Like, oh, no one in there's a pilot? Oh, well, I guess I'm going to have to, fucking just leave them now. Like...
Also, I don't know if she was actually a named character, but I like the fact that the pilot was an Asian woman. It was like, yeah, cool, representation.
But yeah, with that being said, it's the action in this episode in particular was pretty damn good. I'm someone who's never been I've always been fine with the karate aspect of the Captain America stuff, Winter Soldier, Civil War, this series. I've been fine with it, but it's not, in terms of MCU action, it's not my favorite, because sometimes I feel it can get a little stale. Sometimes I feel like it get a little too samey, but in this series, I feel like they've done a relatively good job with a lot of the action scenes. Some of them do feel samey, but I chalk that. I know that a lot of work goes into the choreography and such. I just chalk it up to probably not being my thing per se. This episode in particular did have some really good action set pieces. And then, of course, we get, just lines like freaking, yeah, that's the Black Falcon. Nah, that's Captain America. And I'm just like, yeah, it's like, he's a fucking
borderline cheesy, but so good.
It's borderline, but I wouldn't even say it is cheesy, because holy crap, it feels so goddamn powerful, because he feels like a big deal now. Going into this series, Sam still had the stigma of just being a supporting character from the other movies, which was fine there, but now they're passing on the mantle of Captain America to him, and they needed to do something to really big him up, and he feels like a big deal now. I'm excited for that fourth Captain America movie that they announced, a day after this series finished. They've announced that Captain America 4 is happening, and it's going to focus on Sam, so that's going to be fucking terrific. So yeah, it's just, he feels like a big deal now, and I can't wait to see more with Sam as Captain America. It's going to be so damn good.
Yeah. It's going to be so fun. Yeah, I was saying about the Kung Fu fighting and all that. One kind of mental note I did make is having to get your principals wearing masks can really hide the fact when you have to swap out for the professional stunt doubles. Makes it a lot easier than the lighting.
Because otherwise you have to because a lot of the with the stunt doubles, for characters that don't wear masks, you can notice, with some CG or blurring of the faces. Whereas if you're wearing a mask, that's not a fucking problem. Just get someone with the same body type, and you're all good to go.
Yeah, just even have put a wig on them or something. Because wigs are a popular thing for stunt doubles, so that's not a necessary thing. But because I don't know how much fight experience that Erin, sorry, let me just double check her name. Erin Kellyman has. Yeah. I mean, she's also in Game of Thrones, so she probably has some combat training, but to the level that is required. So I think that was more of a side note, kind of. Oh yeah, that would be useful.
Yeah, it's hard to really jump into one concrete place, because whereas last episode was an hour long character piece where the action set piece was at the start, and then the entire thing was just character building and character development and setting up the finale. Now we actually are at the finale, and it feels like one extended climax to a movie. So it's really hard to really jump into one specific point, but I really, just going into like, I guess let's go into like, I guess the big reveal of, and a lot of people called this, and, so everyone who called it, give yourself a round of applause. I didn't call it, partly, it was for two reasons. Half of it was because I didn't think that they were going to do, I legitimately didn't think they were going to do it. And the other half was because I kind of didn't want them to do it, as I was kind of saying in the last episodes. Sharon is the power broker, and I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like Sharon's the one point of this. I feel like Sharon's the one point is the one character in this series, and like the one point that just makes me go, it stops it from just being that masterpiece. I feel like, I don't know. Sharon being, the power broker. I don't know, because it's weird to me, because I feel like there's a lot we just haven't seen. I think we needed to get like some sort of flashback with her, or because it's relying so much on like seeing more of her and like seeing more of her past. Because otherwise, like I said before, you think back to Civil War, and it's like she because she had such a hard time these past few years. But it's like back in Civil War, because. And the more we've seen of like her character, the less it seems like she has a grudge against the heroes. But it's like, because she was giving Sam shit back in like episode 3 or whatever, and but you think back to Civil War, and it's like, Sharon, you're the one who willingly helped Steve and Sam. Like they didn't like force you to do anything. You willingly help them retrieve the shield and the wings. That was your decision. So I don't know. It's something that's gonna have to grow on me, because I just feel like we need to see more of it. And because we didn't really get anything of it in this series, and granted there were bigger things to talk about. There was there was the stuff with Walker, Zemo, the Flag Smashers, Bucky, Sam, all that stuff. So the stuff with Sharon was was like really the one part of this series where it's like they were setting up later MCU entries. The only other part that was like, that felt like setting up the other MCU entries was the stuff with Val. But even then with Val, she only popped up like near the end of the series as kind of like, bridging Walker's character with like future stuff to come, whereas Sharon's whole thing is just setting up future entries of the MCU. And so that's why I'm kind of mixed on it. And part of me hopes that she's a Skrull, since I think that would probably make more sense, but another part of me is just like, let's see where this goes. Maybe they'll make something out of Sharon being evil, but at the very least it seems like she's fine like with she's fine with heroes to an extent, and like she at the very least doesn't want to see like civilians die. But I don't know, again, gonna have to see where they go with that, because right now I just think nothing of it. It's kind of like, well, actually you give your opinion on it, and then I'll say what I was gonna say, because I'm going on a little too long. What do you think of it?
Mixed feels, again, because I'm not sure how I feel about that particular point. But are you aware of the lost plot theory? Oh, not really a theory, that they had a story that they had to nix because of because
they were going to do a story about vaccines, but then they cut it out.
A virus plotline, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much of Sharon's story was necessarily changed because they cut out the plot line, because it was literally there is going to be a pandemic, bringing people, because New Rockstars has talked about it a lot. They were saying like, so the basic idea is you've got people, half the population coming back, and their immune systems are 5 years out of sync with everybody else's immune system, and that brings stuff with it. But then there was the idea or possibility, again, they didn't have it confirmed, it was just something that they'd heard, so they like, I'm not saying this is what was going to happen, but there is a possibility that there could have been a plot twist where it could have been manufactured in the East, and that could have been like really so
the more I just keep hearing about that subplot, the more I'm glad they just cut it out, because although an interesting idea to like delve into, it's like, just the details of it,
I mean, as if they ever do it as a, like, if they've been put together as a box set and like have like deleted scene or deleted plotline, I'd be interested to see what the idea was and if anything was shot for it. But as for Sharon specifically, yeah, no, I just like. I don't want to say she was wasted because she was useful to Magipore. She has helped them, but it feels like she was definitely underused for having a principal credit as well, and having had the being part of the Marvel Legends, like the actual. Let's catch you up on this character.
Yeah, they like, you know, they did 4 Marvel Legends episodes for Falcon and Winter Soldier. They did, of course, Bucky and Sam. And then Zemo, and they did Sharon. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like just like this is just them setting Sharon up for other stuff. It's like not really anything to do with this series, which I feel like, again, like they handled it well with Val, but with Sharon, they didn't give me anything for this series to really latch onto other than like, oh, you know, the whole hero thing is bullshit. And, you know, holding a grudge there, even though, again, you know, it was her own.
Yeah.
She herself chose to go into hiding so she could help out Steve and Sam. And so the fact that she would just suddenly be bitter about the whole thing without explaining it, you know, it leaves me with nothing for that. So
yeah,
it's the mystery monger thing. It's the whole thing about mystery mongering where it's like, you know, just to give an example from like My Hero Academia, I won't give any like overt spoilers because this is like a big spoiler for the series, even though everyone figured out what this was like a year or two in advance of like it actually happening in the manga. But like the character of Darby, for example, like, you know, there was a big reveal that they did with him, which again, everyone figured out, but like they held on that mystery for so fucking long. They held on that mystery with Darby for such a long goddamn time that, you know, you're left with nothing but that mystery. Like, what am I supposed to think about Darby's character other than that mystery? You need to have some sort of other hook other than just having a mystery box with a character, like, you know, just making a character a mystery box, essentially. If a character is just a mystery box, then, you know, you can't latch yourself onto that character otherwise. And I'm like, you know, and you need some sort of other hook. And that's kind of my problem with Sharon here. It's that she doesn't have another real hook that like is interesting, you know, it like, or that makes sense without delving into it, and they didn't. So it's just, we're gonna have to see in the future. We're gonna have to see what happens with that in the future.
Yeah, it just felt like wasted, or like maybe if they had to do a quick rewrite, I'm not sure how it would have fit in. But even then, it's like, I don't know. Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that if you had to point to something that is like a bad thing, it's like that was just like wasted. That was just.
I think that was the one point. I think that's the one point of the series where I was like, yeah, that's probably that's probably the low point, you know. And even then, you know, Sharon she got a cool action set piece in like, you know, episode 3 or whatever. But then past that, she was like, you know. I think it's appropriate that she got the post-credit scene, which I'll bring up now because I don't think we're going to talk about it later. I think it's appropriate that she got the post-credit scene because it really does feel like her entire existence in this show is just to set up, you know, future stuff. I saw people complaining about that with this episode, and I feel like the only case where it truly feels like this series is setting up for later stuff is with Sharon. And to be fair, they don't focus on her a whole lot until the final episode, but they focus on her enough, especially with her being the power broker, to where, you know, it's something that does, you know, hamper the series, not too much, just like a slight teeny bit, and only like in the final episode, really. So, you know, still like, you know, it in other words, it's what would drag it down from like a 10 to like a 9, for example.
Yeah. That's why I'm curious to see what the virus plotline was supposed to be like. Would she be more involved and not necessarily, like, was it always the plan to make her the power broker? You know, that's why, like, oh, deleted storyline. Okay, probably good that it was got rid of for various reasons above, but also, how did it necessarily affect the characters as a knock-on? Yeah.
It's interesting to see. But speaking of how, you know, characters turned out this episode, I want to talk about, you know, probably one of the more interesting characters to talk about coming out of this episode.
Yeah.
Because we're going to talk about, I'm saving Sam and Bucky for last.
Yeah.
because, you know, they're just the title characters, because you gotta leave them for last. But probably the most interesting character to talk about in regards to this finale is John Walker, and how they turned out, or how his character turned out, because I was fully expecting them to go like the villain route with him. I was not expecting them to turn around and make him an anti-hero, and I've seen conflicting opinions on this. I've seen some people say, you know, they're for this. Some people say they're against this and that they should have kept him a villain. I have opinions on this, but what do you think?
I think lots of things. I like the fact that he did make the effort. Like when he came in, like Marcus, oh god, and it's like, oh, okay, fine. But he did make the effort to try and save the people in the van. So there was that. My gut instinct is he's seeing US Agent as a kind of redemption arc, as a way of like proving himself again. I think he's being used and doesn't realize it yet.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, this whole stint with the US Agent is him gonna be, you know, trying to make up for his time as Captain America, but just making the same mistakes. And whatever the next thing we see him in, which I'm starting to think is going to be Thunderbolts. I think the next thing we're going to see him in is like an evil team, like or even not really so much evil team, but like kind of like team mixed of like anti-heroes. Well, because the Thunderbolts in general is a team mixed of like anti-heroes and villains in the first place. So you can be flexible like with that. You can have a Thunderbolts team and have like anti-heroes like Thunderbolt Ross as Red Hulk and US Agent, but then also have villains like Zemo. You know, and heck, we've even had some good guys being the Thunderbolts, like Luke Cage and Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
So I think that I feel like, you know, and I understand, you know, some people's frustration that, you know, that this is, you know, a cis white guy from the military who killed someone out in broad daylight and was depicted as like, you know, and it was depicted as this like horrifying scene, and now they're, you know, like they're not making him a full-on villain. I can understand that completely, but with the way they depict it, like, you know, no one's really, you know, forgiven him for that. No one's really, you know, shown sympathy in regards to, like, the only thing that they've shown sympathy towards is, you know, with Lamar's death. That's like the whole sympathetic thing in regards to Walker's character right now, whereas everything else is just like, you know, you're not Captain America, which, to be fair, is something he realizes when Sam's giving his speech, and we will get to the speech for sure. You know, he realizes, you can see on his face that, you know, he realizes that it's not him that's meant to be Captain America. You know, because, you know, his privileged white ass is not, you know, it's not, he's not the man who needs to be Captain America for this society, which plays in part to him taking up the mantle of US Agent and seeing it as kind of a redemption. Like, okay, you know, I can be, you know, my own person and, you know, help this country in my own way. But he's still probably going to make the same fucking mistakes, which I think would be interesting to, you know, kind of develop for his character. But, you know, it'll be interesting to see, like, where they go with it, because I feel like if they play too much of the sympathy card right away, I feel like they could lose a lot of people with that storyline. But if they handle it really well, then I'll be on board with it. I've really liked John Walker's character this with the series, so I legit can't wait to see more of him with, like, you know, now that he has the black suit and, you know, it's the same but black. I understand people's, you know, you know, why some people are disappointed, but for me personally, you know, I think that it's an interesting place to take him as opposed to just making him a full-on villain. And, you know, him realizing that, you know, maybe me being Captain America isn't what's right for this country, and him finally, because he was so close to, like, just completely going off the deep end, but then him looking at that van and him looking at Carly and him realizing that, you know, everything he's done up until now has been, like, you know, for a self-centered reason. He needs to be, you know, that hero in that moment. Like, he needs to be a hero in that moment, and so he saves the people, or attempts to save the people in that moment. that's that can, be like what starts to like lead him to more of, a side of redemption, but it's gonna be a slow road. And I feel like with more development, they can get there, but like any redemption arc, they can royally fuck it up, because either you're gonna get an Endeavor redemption with My Hero Academia, where it's, done really well, or you get a fucking Diamonds redemption from Steven Universe, where it's fucking piss poor and shit, and it's badly written. So it's really, with redemption stories, it really always goes one way or the other. And I really hope with John Walker that they handle it well, essentially.
Yeah. One thing that was pointed out on the other reviews I watched was about when he's having his face-off with Carly, and she's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to kill anyone who wasn't important. And they felt that line from Carly was a bit off, because, yeah, she did seem to visibly regret killing Lamar. And I think she meant it as, like, I didn't mean to kill anyone who wasn't important to the cause, but it came across as, like, she didn't care about Lamar at all as a person, and, like, I could see the people saying, like, that doesn't quite reach true for Carly, that she would have been that dismissive of Lamar. So I can see that point, but yeah, I think that might have been just an in the moment. She said it wrong. She said it the wrong way.
I feel like that. I feel like that's just her miswording it, and yeah.
But yeah, they got a moment. John. It's going to be interesting. Excuse me. It's going to be interesting seeing the rest of his journey and how it plays out and where it plays out, because, yeah, like I said, I don't think he's necessarily a bad guy. I think he is going to be used. And how he comes to the realization he's being used and how he reacts to it is going to be an interesting part of his journey as well.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they don't just, like, pull like the switch on, like, oh, he's suddenly, like, he's learned his lesson, he's good now, and then they don't expand on it. If they do that, then I'm gonna be upset. But I have the feeling with the way that they depicted John Walker in this episode, like, I know Zen also said that she wished that there was like another scene of like John apologizing to Sam or such. I don't really think that you need that. I feel like that nod that the two gave each other, like, it's like Walker saying, all right, I'm fine with you being Captain America, you do your own thing, and Sam just acknowledging that, you do whatever you need to do, and like I feel like that's fine. You don't need another scene with the two of them, at least for now. And it's like, I'm willing to see where they go with this character. I feel like for like his first outing, it was really good. It was, it felt a little off at first, but that's only because I was really expecting him to turn into the series' main villain, and he didn't. Because it turned out after all that the Flag Smashers, because I was for sure thinking the Flag Smashers were going to be like a secondary villain of the series, but they really did end up being like the main villains of this series. So because I wasn't expecting that, I was kind of caught off guard at first, but I really think that for a first outing, John Walker, was pretty damn terrific, and that scene at the end of episode 4 still hits hard, and he can only go uphill from here, I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, so...
Yeah, so... I was going to say, talk about Carly for a little bit, because,
I was actually going to talk about Carly more, like, when we start talking about Sam, like, near the beginning of Sam's bit.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, so hold on to that point. We'll come back to when we begin talking about Sam. Let's talk about Bucky real quick, because I feel like his story really wrapped up, like, in terms of like development-wise, it wrapped up last episode, and this episode was just more about tying the loose ends, like him being there for Sam, and then getting that scene with Nakajima. So I heard some people saying that the bit with Nakajima was rushed. I don't really think so, because I feel like, because I don't think it's realistic for Nakajima to be like, oh, you killed my son, but that's okay, like, I could see you're better now. Like, I don't think that's realistic to really depict it like that. So I feel like them just, showing he explained it to him, walked out. I feel like that just fits, because, Nakajima can now go on with his life, and
no conversation that you could have shown would have been satisfactory in your head.
Yeah, sometimes that really just ends up being the case. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, it's like whatever conversation you, and I'm using the broad stroke you as anyone listening to this program or watching the series as a whole, whatever conversation you had in your head, whatever conversation they put down would have been different. Would have been wrong. Would have been not quite the way you would have played it. I like, because you're right, you see him walk in, you see him explain, you see him walk out. You don't actually know how long he was in there. You don't know that old man didn't beat up on him for a little while. You don't know what happened. We don't know how long that time period was.
Yeah, I feel like keeping it a little, like, you know, ambiguous in that regard is like really cool. So, you know, it fits with the scene really well. But yeah.
And then obviously you got the bit where he's walking past them again. It's like, yeah, I can't go in that restaurant for a while.
Probably gonna have to, you know, find a new residence. Hey Sam, you know, mind if I get a place somewhere here? It's. I do really love in the final scene when it's like, you know, it's everyone when they're having that you know, celebration at Sam's place, how you see Bucky, you know, just messing around with Sam's nephews and, you know, and just holding his arm out and, like, you know, and his nephews hanging on to it.
I've done that. Oh, when I was little, there was a guy that I knew who was like I don't know if he was super small, but certainly for kid me, for me and the other kids that, you know, knew him, like, I don't know if I was necessarily one of the ones that used to hang off his arm, but I've seen that happen in the real world with just normal blokes who are a bit strong and the kids like hanging off their strong arm. It's like, that's a thing that happens. People do that. It's like, people.
But I love that because it just shows that Bucky is in such a much better, happier place now. And like now that he's, you know, now that he's working through his shit and he's doing so in a much healthier manner. Because Zen pointed out to me, like, you know, and I think I may have brought this up, but like, you know, Zen pointed out to me how his therapy really wasn't good. And his therapist brought, you know, she got the nucleus of the entire thing. You know, it's not like she's completely terrible at her job. She got the nucleus of it. But what she didn't get was just, you know, helping Sam out, like, you know, from a down-to-earth position instead of, you know, talking all authoritative to him. And, you know, I feel like, you know, with Sam's help, you know, he's in a much better... Sorry?
You misspoke. You said she didn't help Sam very well.
Oh, whoops. Fucking Bucky. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot.
In the full comments.
But yeah, so I feel like, you know, they really ended Bucky's character off like really well this episode. He's another one who people said that they rushed or didn't give too much time to. Honestly, I don't agree with that at all. I feel like this series has done an amazing job at just making me give a shit about Bucky because, you know, for the longest time, I did not care about Bucky. I started to warm up to him a little more with, you know, Civil War and just adding on that, you know, that bit to his character, you know, like little bits to his character. But I was still just, you know, yeah, I like Bucky just fine. I'm just fine with Bucky. And this series has really made me like actually actively like him. So, you know, I legitimately just really love his character.
Yeah. Because aside from his early scenes in First Avenger, and even then he was kind of like very much, you know, getting into Soldier Boy mode. He hasn't really just been. He's always been on duty. He's always been in the moment. He's always been like action or tense up for action. Or these are like, I think, and I have to watch all the rest of the stuff he's been in, but I think this is like really the only time that you see him just being, just relaxing, just, you know, not having to worry about anything else.
Since First Avenger, yes.
Since First Avenger.
Yeah, since First Avenger, absolutely. Wow. Like the only other time you see him relaxing is, you know, in, you know, that like brief scene when we first see him in Infinity War, where, you know, he gets the arm and like he's on the farm, you know. Aside from that, and like, you know, it's how he described it. It's like it was like a little calm in Wakanda, and that was about it.
Yeah.
You know, so this is like the first time we are like really seeing him relax.
Yeah, even the timeline of that is like maybe he got a couple of weeks after Io had like fully deprogrammed him to the battle at Wakanda. It was like he's been pretty much the only time he's ever had a chance to stop is when he's been frozen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so to see him
it's
finally
nice that he's
happy
finally
again is like just really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't wait to keep seeing him. You know, bring on
Yeah.
Bucky in Captain America 4. Bring him on in like every other fucking movie. I really really want to see more of him. He's I want to see more of more of Uncle Bucky. You know, just bring on more of him.
Yeah, more Uncle Buck. Very cute. So yeah, no, I'm happy. I like the he gave the therapist like I finished the book. I was like, oh, didn't need much more than that, did you? That's quite cool.
But now let's. Oh yeah, finish your point.
Well, it wasn't even a point because I got it as like the message, but it's like, but isn't that like one of the last things he had of Steve because it was Steve's book as well? He gave it away. But yeah, let's like a key point. It's like
Yeah, let's shift into Sam since we don't really have anything else to say. I mean, only other real thing to say is that Zemo got the last laugh because he blew up he blew up one of the police vans that had the flag smashers in them. So it was good to get like I was really expecting that they were gonna like break Zemo out of the raft or whatever and have him do his own thing. But no, you see, he seems just content. No real reason to break out. So and he's alive. So thank God, we have Walker alive and we have Zemo alive. So just again, keep building up that rogues gallery so we can have people for a Thunderbolts team, or so we can bring back for like later stuff. So yeah, I'm happy about that.
Also, we last saw him prior to this when he was escaping from the apartment, yes? And then we saw him in the apartment, then we saw him in Sokovia, and then we see him again. So is he actively consciously aware that Walker took the serum, the super soldier serum?
I don't think he is actually.
Yeah, because obviously
I feel like if we get Thunderbolts or something like that, and both Walker and Zemo end up being on that team, there's going to be a lot of fucking tension there because it's like, oh shit, my work is still is still not done yet.
Yeah, because obviously Steve is still a question mark whether or not he's still alive, but Zemo respects Steve. Obviously Bucky's had the serum, but again they've reached an accord. The Flag Smashers, including Carly, as far as we know, are all dead. And he doesn't know about John.
Yeah.
So that's
so as far as he's concerned, he's done with his mission. So yeah, him seeing Walker again is going to be like a really big, big tension going on there.
Yeah. So is that right? The active super soldiers that are definitely still out there are Bucky and John, and possibly Steve. Oh, and obviously Isaiah, but again, I don't think Zemo knew about Isaiah or doesn't see him as a threat. Yeah.
So speaking of which, let's finally jump on into Sam's side of things. Yeah. So we get the conclusion with his whole arc with Carly, where Carly ends up dying, and and a lot. I do want to briefly talk about that for a bit because it's like I saw some people saying that how they're treating her death like as if she's some sort of martyr. No, they're really not. Like maybe Carly wants to be seen as such because she said how the movement's going to continue on even after I died. But but the thing is once she's there dying, you see her for what she is, and that's just a teenager. And we point out later, we point out later that no, Carly isn't a martyr. She's just one of many people. Because again, many fucking people. It's not just the Flag Smashers here. So many people agree with their cause. Sam agrees with their goddamn cause. And so it's not just they're treating her like a martyr and like someone who you're supposed to. Who you're supposed to feel like a whole heap of sympathy for. It's not just that, you're supposed to feel sympathy for her. It's that you're supposed to feel like, sympathy for the whole situation that we find ourselves in. That that things have to resort to this level to begin with. When, when a more, what's the word I'm looking for? capable government, you know, or a more you know, a government who had their shit together could have prevented, you know, a Carly from, like, you know, could have prevented Carly from going as extreme as she did, or the flag smashers from being a thing to begin with. And that's what fuels Sam's whole speech at the end. It's that even though Carly is someone who needed to be stopped and needed to, like, you know, and who they needed to, like, put it into her plans, her cause, you know, isn't exactly, you know, because you can't exactly say, oh, just defeat one person and then the entire thing becomes a non-issue, or defeat a whole bunch of people and the entire thing becomes a non-issue, because it's a thing, you know, it's an issue that runs throughout the government, and that there's always going to be that subsection of people, not just subsection, but just a whole group of people who are going to be against the government in regards to this, and it's like including fucking superheroes as Sam shows. So the solution is not just keep killing these people until the solution goes away, because that's never gonna fucking happen. It's to, you know, talk the government out of doing the stupid shit that they keep doing. And it's like, I feel like this final speech from Sam more than anything else is what solidifies him as Captain America. And it's a moment, it's a moment like this that just shows Anthony Mackie is gonna be just fine with, like, in the future of the MCU as Cap. He's going to be terrific, and I can't wait to see more and more stuff, because this is honestly, honest to God, one of my new favorite MCU scenes. It is so damn good, so damn heart-wrenching, and God, it's just, some people said it was cheesy. I'm gonna be honest, I don't see it with the scene at all, because he just touches on too many just fucking real things. Yeah, I love it, and how wide-reaching it is, and just, God, man, it's so fucking good.
The point I was gonna make earlier specifically about Carly's death, and like, are we supposed to be sad that this, you know, this terrorist, this martyr, this person who has killed people has died? And like, if you want to be sad about the loss of her life and her potential, yes, but I think we're supposed to be more empathetic with Sam, because he believed in her, and that it's more about feeling
sympathy for Sam. It's like, it's, you know, it's seeing this life that could have just, you know, that it's just seeing this teenager who could have avoided going to this extreme if the government if the government wasn't fucking inept at their jobs, you know, at their job. Yeah. So it's more sympathy on fucking Sam's part, I would say.
Yeah. But to his speech, it did actually answer a question I had right at the beginning, which was, how does this fit in with Far From Home? And the senator turns around and says, so what about all those people who turned up to find new people living in their homes? Are they just going to end up staying homeless or whatever? And that ties into the fact that Aunt May was running a homeless charity.
Yeah.
Because... So it actually, I was like, they tied it up.
Yeah.
It's like, cool.
Yeah, I really fucking, I'm losing the fucking words to say for this goddamn scene. I'm at a loss for words, because it's just handled so well, and just the reactions of everyone else, you know, Walker, Bucky, you know, how we cut to, like, Isaiah in the middle of it, and, you know, and Sarah and Torres, and it's just like, God, like, man, it's so goddamn powerful. And I
love Bucky though. So sorry, I was looking at my phone. What'd you say?
Oh, he's so good, so good. And yeah, as for Carly, because this is the last I'm really gonna say on her, you know, I like her as, like, you know, as a means to, like, you know, get across this entire, you know, this entire dilemma in the story. You know, I know some people haven't really liked Carly. I've liked her just fine. You know, she's not one of my favorite MCU villains, but, like, to push this dilemma for the series, she still works, you know, pretty solidly. She's still a solid character within the series, much better than a lot of the fucking characters or a lot of the villains in, like, the earlier phases. Like, I'll take Carly over goddamn, like I'll take her over Whiplash, or Abomination. That said, Abomination is coming back,
Yeah.
but you know, I would take her over Whiplash or goddamn or the Dark Elves or freaking the Doctor Strange villain whose name I can't even remember. Caecilius, that's his name. You know,
yeah,
I would,
I mean, I love Mads Mikkelsen, but I think he probably was wasted there.
Yeah.
But although I do like that moment. It's like they're trying to get his name. Like it's Doctor Strange, like Doctor Mister. No, it's Strange. Well, hey, it's your name.
no. His dialogue was actually like, you know, upon rewatching it, because I rewatched that movie recently because of my my big MCU rewatch in the lead up to Phase 4. No, upon rewatching that movie, he does have some pretty fun lines. Like I will say he's not as bad as like some of the other villains, but at the same time there's not really much to him as well, you know. Whereas Carly, I feel like adds to the overall dilemma much better. Yeah.
I just like fun dialogue exchanges. I like someone like said if you swapped over the casting, you could buy Benedict as the bad guy, but you'd have trouble buying Mads as the good guy. I think Mads got himself typecast. Has he managed to get himself completely typecast? Bless him.
But yeah, so it's just Sam's speech in general is just fucking great. And then we get like, you know, final bit to talk about with the episode, and that's you know, what he did for Isaiah. He goes to Isaiah and they have a really, you know, sweet, you know, conversation, you know, following up from the previous episode. And then he takes him and Eli to that museum and that you know, that exhibition for Captain America that we said in the first episode. And they put up a spot for Isaiah, and this damn near made me cry. I was like, holy shit.
It did make me cry.
Yeah, I was tearing. I was like, it like slightly made me cry as well. Like not bawling cry, but like, you know, I was tearing up. Like I was like, God, it was after all the shit that, like, and you know, and I honestly prefer that they did this, because I was like, you know, oh, you know, they could have more for Isaiah. They could also just not. But I prefer at the end of the day, I am happy that they did have more of him, because the fact that he did this for Isaiah was just so heartwarming and so good. Because first of all, it led to like some these good conversations about like what it means to be a black man taking up the mantle of Captain America. But then on top of that, it's like, to see this satisfying ending for Isaiah is just nice. It's just fucking nice.
And that hug! Oh, they hugged!
Yeah, it's just to see, like, you know, it's like Sam, like maybe they're going overboard, but I don't give a shit. Like they're really making Sam out to be like just the perfect guy, or maybe not the perfect guy, but like just a great candidate to be the next Captain America, because he's just a good man. He's just a good man, which is what you need to be Captain America.
Yeah. My only thought, and I realise, you know, this is probably just a practicality of the way the display was already set up, but it did feel like it was slightly out of the way, like you had to make the effort to go in there. But I think that's more on a practical level of, you know, this display already exists. This is the space we have. Because I didn't notice like an arrow or anything sort of saying, oh, and there's this part as well. But that moment is just like, oh, I did cry. I was like, oh my god. And I'm wondering if they based the statue on that actor as a younger man, because that'd be interesting. Like a nice touch. But yeah, no, I did cry, and it's one of those moments that when people are talking about, and like not us now, but like when I've watched it in other videos, especially because I was watching Black Nerds Review, watching other people talking about stuff like that, there are certain moments in any sort of given thing or franchise where even people talking about it can get me emotionally helped. Like you've seen the finale of My Little Pony, haven't you?
Oh, of course, yeah, of course I have.
So the what I like to call it, there on your left tribute, that still fucking gets me.
I think
holy shit, they went there.
I think it's just that final episode in general. The last problem just gets to me. I'm not someone
that
who.
Song.
Oh,
That
the
song.
fucking don't bring that up. I'm gonna fucking tear up. No.
See, it proves my point. Certain moments, about just talking about them will get you, and this moment with Isaiah is one of those moments.
Yeah, and it just leads to just the final scene. You know, everything is just, you know, everyone's just happy, and it leads to just one more showing of the title card. You know, now saying Captain America and the Winter Soldier, and I'm just like,
I had to look twice, like, oh, cool. Oh, that's so cool.
oh, I can't wait for more Captain America movies in the future now with Sam, because honestly, I'm so on board. I'm so on board. If like, you know, honestly, right now, just with one series, Sam is honestly like neck and neck in terms of like how much I like him compared to Steve Rogers as Captain America. It's honestly neck and neck for me. Like, honestly, give me more of him. Like, give me like just some Sam Wilson movies, and he'll easily like be like just from a personal preference, I will like Sam more than Steve. And I fucking love Steve. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love Steve and his character, but like Sam. Yeah. I don't know, like Sam's just hitting it in like just this particular way that just makes me love him even more than Steve, and just give me more of him, and like I'll be honest, I'm gonna put him above, you know. And I'm one of those people who like still likes Peter Parker over Miles Morales, because even though I love Miles Morales, you know, Pete is just, you know, I have just too much sentimental value to him, whereas you know, just give me more of Sam as Cap, and I'm like, damn, it'll be good. It's gonna be so good. Such a good finale. Such a good finale.
It is. This is what I think we kind of touched on this before. Like I've sort of alluded to it. Like the MCU. I'm going to step it back a little and talk about something completely different. The X-Files is a show that potentially could have, not forever and ever, but could have gone on in a different way if they'd allowed, like, shifted some of the focus away from Mulder and Scully. Not the way they did with, the guys they brought in to replace them after, they left. Robert Pattinson, I forgot his name now. But those characters, like Reyes and the other guy, not in that way, because it was like, oh, we're just taking over. I mean, they did the way they brought in Robert Patrick's character. They did allow Scully to not be happy with him. They did allow that, more. But it is a show that you could have had Mulder and Scully, or even Reyes and the other guy, training other agents in this department and having younger agents going forward and carrying on the legacy. That's just as an I think. I mean, again, I don't know how long they would have necessarily kept that show going, but the same with the MCU, because it happens in the comic books. This is a series that can go forward for as long as the people are interested in making it. And obviously, there's a lot of interlocking with some of the early phases, especially like phase 3. You had a lot of interlocking where you kind of needed to know everything that's going on. But you could still have standalone stories. You could still dip in and out. You could, like, just because it was the first one that came to my head, I know she's getting her own TV show. But you could have a Ms. Marvel movie just being a standalone movie and say, hey, look at this, like, this young woman who is, got these superpowers, and isn't she kind of cool? And you could just watch that story.
Yeah, and I am happy that they're making that a TV series, because, well, for starters, it just means we're going to get more of her. But like, it also just means that, it means that, like, we're going to get, like, just longer periods. And it also, like, Ms. Marvel in general, like, her stories lend themselves well to television. So I can't wait for that goddamn series, and I get there was, like, a bit of controversy. So, excuse me. I know there was a bit of controversy surrounding the casting for that series, and I can understand why some people were kind of miffed by that. But otherwise, I am, really looking forward to just, what they come up with that series, because, God, I love Miss Marvel, and I just, and I love the MCU. So, you mix the two together, and it's gonna be so good.
this is the thing. Like, I guess maybe casual film viewers and stuff don't realize is legacy characters are a thing. You can carry it on, because there was a recent thing I think it was posted in Roasting Server. Someone had made a bring back Tony Stark, make Tony Stark.
Yeah.
And my thought was like, if RDJ wants to make either a flashback or a multiverse cameo in a year or two, that'd be kind of cool. But no, this Tony is dead. Let him rest. Let him sleep. He's done enough. Let other characters take it over. You've got all these, Sam and Bucky were set up as these secondary characters as support, and they came in and they did their thing and they were fun. They sort of stepped out again and let the main cast take over. But why can't they organically bring in, the new people? Okay, so we've set these people up. Hawkeye is going to be setting up Kate Bishop.
Kate Bishop.
Obviously Monica Rambeau's already been set up, but she's all grown up. Now, I don't know if they're going to flash back and do other Captain Marvel stories where it's still Kid Monica again, because that'd be kind of fun. I'd be interested to see that kind of stuff. But I think it's set up that, Carol left and she was gone for that whole time. But you can let these characters, you can let other characters go and let other characters come forward and have more action with them, and eventually you're gonna stop Scott Lang, because he jumped in my head first. They're gonna stop having Scott Lang movies, but have other characters that have already come in and you've gotten to know. Like I said, thought potentially keeping it going in for another 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. It's okay, that's quite big, and that would start making the barrier to entry higher again. The issue that I have with a lot of anime shows is that's a really high barrier to entry.
Issue with it's a lot of the issue with the comic industry in general. How there's just so much to it, and you can't. There's no easy entry, and but in general, I just we at the very least know that they're going to go until 2028, maybe probably even longer at this point. I feel like it's going to be a while till we reboot the entirety of the Marvel universe.
Yeah. And I'm okay with that. Like I said, you can have these characters weaving in and out, and some stepping back and others stepping up, but it's it would work. And even then, I don't think the barrier to entry is necessarily going to become that high, because again, you could just pick a movie and I want to watch this movie, and even then, comparative to an anime series, how long? I mean, we've got 20 movies to 60 hours. What's that? A week? Currently, just for the movies, maybe a week and a bit. My maths is very spongy at the moment. And then I still haven't watched Netflix. I do want to catch up with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., even though Feige say it's not really canon anymore, which that's a whole separate conversation.
Yeah.
But it's but those are separate, but these ones are a bit more integrated. But like you said, these are a couple of days each, just to sit down and watch them if you want to space it out. Yeah, it's actually it's not that heavy. So further and further out, you could argue that the barrier to entry is getting higher and higher, but is it? Is it really? Consider how many times I was about to say how many times people rewatch the Star Wars movie, but how many times I will sit down and rewatch Friends end to end. That's 10 I think that's 2 weeks. I have sat down and rewatched X-Files end to end. That takes me a little bit longer because it's a heavier subject. Stargate SG-1 I will happily sit down and rewatch. Again, that's a 10 series, 2 movies, I think 3 if you include the first film. So yeah, you could argue that's a high barrier to entry, but think about how many times you will rewatch your favourite thing, regardless of how long it is. Fuck! Me and Zen are reviewing Doctor Who! Do you know how long that's going to take us?
I really, with how the schedule's going, I really want to get us done with Hartnell by I want to say 2024, but that's still quite a while just for Hartnell. So I hope we don't. I don't want us to stay too long on him. So starting soon, not this year, but starting probably near the end of next year, I want to really start putting more Zen-Who episodes like really close to each other, because I really want to get the Hartnell era done.
Yeah. I'm gonna need to talk to Zen separately, but I'm gonna need whatever copy of like Marco Polo and like some of the other missing episodes that she's watching, because I don't have access to them yet.
Yeah, yeah. Don't worry, we haven't gone to that yet, because that's like late, the spare arc, so you don't have to worry about that.
No, I just knew that was something I was gonna have to talk to her about. So I need access to whatever you're watching, so we're watching the same version.
Yeah, gonna have Chiaki basically parrot your own opinions.
Yeah, which is kind of cool. I'm kind of happy with that, and it's like
it's cool. It's nice.
It actually motivates me to do it, because otherwise I probably wouldn't. Like, oh yeah, because I reviewed like Jodie's the first 2 series for Jodie on my channel, because I'm like, oh, maybe I should do this. So yeah, going back and reviewing it. So I'm already reviewing it. It's the whole thing. But yes. Again, actually, Doctor Who's another good example. Technically, it has a high barrier to entry, but you can just pick a Doctor and start with there. But also, it's a great example of something that has gone on for, well, 60 years in total, but like 26 years originally. You know, you just have the characters coming in and out. You have your actor got old, or your actor's not interested anymore. He's an alien. Let's give him a special power.
It's very easy to like. It's very easy to like jump in like with any particular Doctor, even if they do have references to old stuff. With that being said, I'm gonna have to cut you off here, Michelle, because you're just gonna like keep you're just gonna keep listing like more and more examples like for this point. But, yeah.
No, it's fine. I was wrapping myself up.
Yeah. With that being said, you know, the finale for this series was damn good, and in general, like, this is another one of my tops. Like, this is absolutely another one of my tops for the MCU. It's just so good. Can't wait for Loki in like 7 weeks or 6 by the time this probably comes out. But yeah,
why is it so long?
I mean, it's gonna give us more. It's gonna give us more time. It's gonna give us more time for for me and Zen to do the series reviews for WandaVision and this series, which of course just to give it out to you guys right now, Michelle will be coming back for the series review of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, not for WandaVision, but for WandaVision we have plans to have Casey come on for the series review for WandaVision. Just to kind of, just to kind of have fun with that. Loki will just be me and Zen, because I feel like, after missing an entire series, I feel like I just want to focus on just me and Zen for like just an entire series. So we're just going to make Loki, just me and Zen reviewing the thing instead of bringing on guests. Although for What If, just a little bit of a glimpse into What If, I actually do want to have, people coming on for like different episodes, since that's an anthology series. It'd be nice to just kind of have like, this solo discussion of like individual episodes with, just different people coming on. But we're gonna have to see how we go with that, nothing concrete for that right now. But, for the time being, because we're gonna have, this gap between Falcon and Loki, what you can expect, before Loki starts is you can expect the series review of WandaVision and the series review of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And Zen will be finally returning with those. We're still waiting on her, laptop to come in. Yes, I know it's been so fucking long. Freaking the people in charge of like repairing it have been.
I'm not saying at her. I'm saying at her situation, because fuck.
Oh no. Trust me. Like, yeah, we're all annoyed by that fucking situation. And if she doesn't get the laptop back, I think she said by the 5th. I think she said, then she's getting a new laptop. Because at this point, it's ridiculous. Like, we need to get a move on. And at this point, it's not worth it to just keep waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. It's not worth it. So if they don't give her laptop back by around the 5th, the 5th of May, obviously, then then she's going to get a new laptop, because it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Yeah. So, but yeah.
Taking the proverbial.
And then other than the series review for both WandaVision and Falcon, me and Michelle potentially have something cooking up, because for as much as it has sucked not having Zen on board for Falcon and Winter Soldier, you know, and I can't wait to finally hear, you know, her say all her opinions on the podcast with the series review, because spoiler alert, that series review is mostly going to be Zen talking, because, you know, she has the right to give her opinion on a series that she hasn't been able to join us for. And yeah, we've more than, like, you know, explained, we explained more than enough on like what we love about the series, and of course we're going to talk about it extensively there as well, but that's mainly going to be for Zen. So but as much as it sucked not having, as much as it has sucked of, you know, not having her on board for Falcon, it has made me realize that, you know, hey, me and Michelle, we make a good pairing, you know, in terms of, you know, doing the podcast.
We got some bads. Yeah.
So, you know, potentially expect, you know, the start of something during this break between Falcon and Loki. So, yeah, but I won't say what it is yet, so you'll just have to keep an eye out for that. But at the very least, Michelle will also be returning for the series review of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But with that being said, Michelle, thank you for joining me and filling in for Zen for this entire series. Other than the first video, of course.
Yeah, and also just, I mean, I'll probably say this in the review, but thank you to everyone who's made Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because damn, you guys pulled it. You rocked.
It stuck the landing, and you guys did just an amazing job. You guys are terrific, and I'm glad that some of you are probably going to be working on Cap 4. So thanks a ton.
Cut the check.
Yeah. But with that being said, guys, thank you once again for watching Phasing Forward. Again, it's going to be a little bit of a break because there's this 7-week break between Falcon and Loki. But when Phasing Forward returns, well, next, like I just said, when Phasing Forward returns, we're going to be getting into the series review of WandaVision, our belated series review of WandaVision, where Zen will finally be making her return. And then we'll do the series review of Falcon. And then, in about 6 to 7 weeks, when this video comes out, we're going to be jumping back in with Loki. So, with that being said, guys, thanks for watching this episode of Phasing Forward. And until next time, I'm Philip.
I'm Michelle.
And we will catch you later. Bye, everyone.